I'd like to share with you a discovery that I made a few months ago while writing an article for Italian Wired. I always keep my thesaurus handy whenever I'm writing anything, but I'd already finished editing the piece, and I realized that I had never once in my life looked up the word disabled to see what I'd find. Let me read you the entry. Disabled, adjective. Crippled, helpless. Useless, wrecked. Stalled, maimed, wounded. Mangled, lame, mutilated. Run down, worn out. Weakened, impotent. Castrated, paralyzed. Handicapped, senile, decrepit. Laid up, done for, done in. Cracked up, counted out. See also hurt, useless, and weak. Antonyms: healthy, strong, capable. I was reading this list out loud to a friend, and at first was laughing. It was so ludicrous. But I had just gotten past mangled, and my voice broke, and I had to stop and collect myself from the emotional shock and impact that the assault from these words unleashed. And of course, this is my raggedy old thesaurus, so I'm thinking this must be an ancient print date, right? But in fact, the print date was the early 1980s, when I would have been starting primary school and forming an understanding of myself outside the family unit and as related to the other kids in the world around me. And needless to say, thank God I wasn't using a thesaurus back then. I mean, from this entry, it would seem that I was born into a world that perceived someone like me to have nothing positive whatsoever going for them, when in fact today, I'm celebrated for the opportunities and adventures my life have procured. So I immediately went to look up the 2009 online edition, expecting to find a revision worth noting. Here's the updated version of this entry. Unfortunately, it's not much better. I find the last two words under near antonyms particularly unsettling: whole and wholesome. So it's not just about the words. It's what we believe about people when we name them with these words. It's about the values behind the words and how we construct those values. Our language affects our thinking and how we view the world and how we view other people. In fact, many ancient societies, including the Greeks and the Romans, believed that to utter a curse verbally was so powerful because to say the thing out loud brought it into existence. So what reality do we want to call into existence? A person who is limited or a person who's empowered? By casually doing something as simple as naming a person a child, we might be putting lids and casting shadows on their power. Wouldn't we want to open doors for them instead? One such person who opened doors for me was my childhood doctor at the A.I. DuPont Institute in Wilmington, Delaware. His name is Dr. Pizzutillo, an Italian-American whose name apparently was too difficult for most Americans to pronounce, so he went by Dr. P. And Dr. P always wore really colorful bow ties and had the very perfect disposition to work with children. I loved almost everything about my time spent at this hospital, with the exception of my physical therapy sessions. I had to do what seemed like innumerable repetitions of exercises with these thick, elastic bands, different colors, to help build up my leg muscles. And I hated these bands more than anything. I hated them, had names for them, I hated them. And, I was already bargaining as a 5-year-old child with Dr. P to try to get out of doing these exercises, unsuccessfully, of course. And one day, he came in to my session, exhaustive and unforgiving, these sessions. And he said to me, "Wow, Amy, you are such a strong and powerful little girl. I think you're going to break one of those bands. When you do break it, I'm going to give you $100. Now, of course, this was a simple ploy on Dr. P's part to get me to do the exercises I didn't want to do before the prospect of being the richest 5-year-old in the second floor ward. But what he effectively did for me was reshape an awful daily occurrence into a new and promising experience for me. And I have to wonder today to what extent his vision and his declaration of me as a strong and powerful little girl shaped my own view of myself as an inherently strong, powerful, and athletic person well into the future. This is an example of how adults in positions of power can ignite the power of a child. But in the previous instances of those thesaurus entries, our language isn't allowing us to evolve into the reality that we would all want. The possibility of an individual to see themselves as capable. Our language hasn't caught up with the changes in our society, many of which have been brought about by technology. Certainly from a medical standpoint, my legs, laser surgery for vision impairment, titanium knees and hip replacements for aging bodies that are allowing people to more fully engage with their abilities and move beyond the limits that nature has imposed on them. Not to mention social networking platforms. It allows people to self-identify, to claim their own descriptions of themselves so they can go align with global groups of their own choosing. So perhaps technology is revealing more clearly to us now what has always been a truth, that everyone has something rare and powerful to offer our society, and that the human ability to adapt is our greatest asset. The human ability to adapt, it's an interesting thing, because people have continually wanted to talk to me about overcoming adversity. And I'm going to make an admission, this phrase never sat right with me, and I always felt uneasy trying to answer people's questions about it, and I think I'm starting to figure out why. Implicit in this phrase of overcoming adversity is the idea that success or happiness is about emerging on the other side of a challenging experience unscathed or unmarked by the experience. As if my successes in life have come about from an ability to sidestep or circumnavigate the presumed pitfalls of a life with prosthetics or what other people perceive as my disability. But in fact, we are changed. We are marked, of course, by a challenge, whether physically, emotionally, or both. And I'm going to suggest that this is a good thing. Adversity isn't an obstacle that we need to get around in order to resume living our life. It's part of our life. And I tend to think of it like my shadow. Sometimes I see a lot of it, sometimes there's very little, but it's always with me. Now, certainly, I'm not trying to diminish the impact, the weight of a person's struggle. There is adversity and challenge in life, and it's all very real and relative to every single person. But the question isn't whether or not you're going to meet adversity, but how you're going to meet it. So our responsibility is not simply shielding those we care for from adversity, but preparing them to meet it well. And we do a disservice to our kids when we make them feel that they're not equipped to adapt. There's an important difference and distinction between the objective medical fact of my being an amputee and the subjective societal opinion of whether or not I'm disabled. And truthfully, the only real and consistent disability I've had to confront is the world ever thinking that I could be described by those definitions. In our desire to protect those we care about by giving them the cold, hard truth about their medical prognosis, or indeed a prognosis on the expected quality of their life, we have to make sure that we don't put the first brick in a wall that will actually disable someone. Perhaps the existing model of only looking at what is broken in you and how do we fix it serves to be more disabling to the individual than the pathology itself. By not treating the wholeness of a person, by not acknowledging their potency, we are creating another ill on top of whatever natural struggle they might have. We are effectively grading someone's worth to our community. So we need to see through the pathology and into the range of human capability. And most importantly, there's a partnership between those perceived deficiencies and our greatest creative ability. So it's not about devaluing or negating these more trying times as something we want to avoid or sweep under the rug, but instead to find those opportunities wrapped in the adversity. So maybe the idea I want to put out there is not so much overcoming adversity as it is opening ourselves up to it, embracing it, grappling with it, to use a wrestling term, maybe even dancing with it. And perhaps if we see adversity as natural, consistent, and useful, we're less burdened by the presence of it. This year we celebrate the 200th birthday of Charles Darwin, and it was 150 years ago when writing about evolution that Darwin illustrated, I think, a truth about the human character. To paraphrase, it's not the strongest of the species that survives, nor is it the most intelligent that survives. It is the one that is most adaptable to change. Conflict is the genesis of creation. From Darwin's work, amongst others, we can recognize that the human ability to survive and flourish is driven by the struggle of the human spirit through conflict into transformation. So again, transformation, adaptation is our greatest human skill. And perhaps, until we're tested, we don't know what we're made of. Maybe that's what adversity gives us, a sense of self, a sense of our own power. So we can give ourselves a gift. We can reimagine adversity as something more than just tough times. Maybe we can see it as change. Adversity is just change that we haven't adapted ourselves to yet. I think the greatest adversity that we've created for ourselves is this idea of normalcy. Who's normal? There's no normal. There's common. There's typical. There's no normal. And would you want to meet that poor beige person if they existed? I don't think so. If we can change this paradigm from one of achieving normalcy to one of possibility or potency, to be even a little bit more dangerous, we can release the power of so many more children and invite them to engage their rare and valuable abilities with the community. Anthropologists tell us that the one thing we as humans have always required of our community members is to be of use, to be able to contribute. There's evidence that Neanderthals, 60,000 years ago, carried their elderly and those with serious physical injury. And perhaps it's because the life experience of survival of these people proved of value to the community. They didn't view these people as broken and useless. They were seen as rare and valuable. A few years ago, I was in a food market in the town where I grew up, in that red zone in northeastern Pennsylvania. And I was standing over a bushel of tomatoes. It was summertime. I had shorts on. I hear this guy, his voice behind me, say, "Well, if it isn't Amy Mullins." And I turn around, and it's this older man. I have no idea who he is. And I said, I'm sorry, sir, have we met? I don't remember meeting you. He said, well, you wouldn't remember meeting me. I mean, when we met, I was delivering you from your mother's womb. Oh, that guy. But of course, actually, it did click. This man was Dr. Keene, a man that I had only known about through my mother's stories of that day. Because, of course, typical fashion, I arrived late for my birthday by 2 weeks. And so my mother's prenatal physician had gone on vacation. So the man who delivered me was a complete stranger to my parents. And because I was born without the fibula bones and had feet turned in and a few toes in this foot and a few toes in that, he had to be the bearer, the stranger had to be the bearer of bad news. He said to me, I had to give this prognosis to your parents that you would never walk and you would never have the kind of mobility that other kids have or any kind of life of independence, and you've been making a liar out of me ever since. The extraordinary thing is that he said he had saved newspaper clippings throughout my whole childhood, whether winning a second grade spelling bee, marching with the Girl Scouts, the Halloween parade, winning my college scholarship, or any of my sports victories. And he was using it and integrating it into teaching resident students, med students from Hahnemann Medical School and Hershey Medical School. And he called this part of the course the X factor. And it was the potential of the human will. No prognosis can account for how powerful this could be as a determinant in the quality of someone's life. And Dr. Keene went on to tell me that, he said, in my experience, unless repeatedly told otherwise, and even if given a modicum of support, if left to their own devices, a child will achieve. See, Dr. Keene made that shift in thinking. He understood that there's a difference between the medical condition and what someone might do with it. And there's been a shift in my thinking over time, and that if you had asked me at 15 years old if I would have traded prosthetics for flesh and bone legs, I wouldn't have hesitated for a second. I aspired to that kind of normalcy back then. But if you ask me today, I'm not so sure. And it's because of the experiences I've had with them, not in spite of the experiences I've had with them. And perhaps this shift in me has happened because I've been exposed to more people who have opened doors for me than those who have put lids and cast shadows on me. See, all you really need is one person to show you the epiphany of your own power, and you're off. If you can hand somebody the key to their own power, the human spirit is so receptive. If you can do that and open a door for someone at a crucial moment, you are educating them in the best sense. You're teaching them to open doors for themselves. In fact, the exact meaning of the word educate comes from the root word educe. It means to bring forth what is within, to bring out potential. So again, which potential do we want to bring out? There was a case study done in 1960s Britain when they were moving from grammar schools to comprehensive schools. It's called the streaming trials. We call it tracking here in the States. It's separating students from A, B, C, D, and so on. And the A students get the tougher curriculum, the best teachers, etc. Well, they took over a 3-month period, D-level students, gave them A's, told them they were A's, told them they were bright, and at the end of this 3-month period, they were performing at A level. And of course, the heartbreaking flip side of this study is that they took the A students and told them they were D's. And that's what happened at the end of that 3-month period. Those who were still around in school, besides the people who had dropped out. This is a crucial part of this case study, was that the teachers were duped too. The teachers didn't know a switch had been made. They were simply told, these are the A students, these are the D students, and that's how they went about teaching them and treating them. So I think that the only true disability is a crushed spirit. A spirit that's been crushed doesn't have hope, it doesn't see beauty, it no longer has our natural childlike curiosity and our innate ability to imagine. If instead we can bolster a human spirit to keep hope, to see beauty in themselves and others, to be curious and imaginative, then we are truly using our power well. When a spirit has those qualities, we are able to create new realities and new ways of being. I'd like to leave you with a poem by a 14th century Persian poet named Hafiz, that my friend Jacques d'Amboise told me about. And the poem is called "The God Who Only Knows 4 Words." Every child has known God, not the God of names, not the God of don'ts, but the God who only knows 4 words and keeps repeating them, saying, "Come, dance with me. Come, dance with me." Thank you.
After 6 o'clock, teenagers and risky behavior, the subject of a recent federal government study. Of the teenagers surveyed, more than 41% say they recently drank alcohol. More than 28% had ridden in a car driven by someone who'd been drinking alcohol. And nearly 39% of teenagers who were sexually active say they had unprotected sex. This morning, our Leslie Rohde examines why these teenagers are taking these risks.
They ride on top of a car, jump off a bridge, and fall dozens of feet into the water below. So many dangerous risks, but these teenagers do it anyway.
It's fun. I know what I'm doing.
Watch these teens take it sky high at the Austin Del Valley Motocross Park.
It just makes you feel like you're on the top of the world, you know, it's just like this excitement, how you feel when you're in the air.
Just the adrenaline rush, going into the turn and hitting a jump.
These jumps, all the risks. They're just too young to know better, right? Well, a University of Texas researcher says all this risky behavior may be driven by what's going on in their brains.
This is the place where we see the prediction error signals.
Dr. Russ Poldrack looks deep into teenagers' brains at UT's Imaging Research Center.
The brain is sort of a prediction machine, and it's always trying to predict what's going to happen in the world, and it really responds the most when there's a difference between what it expected and what actually happened.
That difference is what Poldrack calls prediction error. The more prediction error, the more dopamine is likely released in the brain, a chemical that research has shown drives people to want more, take risks.
The prediction error signal that we think is related to dopamine starts out very low in children, turns up high in adolescence, and then sort of comes back down in adults.
Poldrack hopes his research will lead to more than just an explanation of why teens take risks.
We're not supposed to jump, but sometimes people do anyway, because it's lots of fun, you know.
The dopamine system, he says, that can help drive them to do something illegal, like jump off cliffs into Georgetown's Blue Hole, can also drive some to addiction, to things like drugs and alcohol.
If they're getting addicted, that's a brain disease, and we think that it involves this particular brain system. So this might be a way for us to understand that system better.
And ultimately find better ways to treat the addictions. Leslie Rohde, KXAN Austin News.
Adolescence is all about growing, building muscles and bones to become bigger and stronger, to be able to do new things. except in the brain, where other things are going on during the teenage years. Unlike most parts of the body, a child's brain reaches about 95% of its adult size by age 6, complete with billions of connections between cells. But the teenage brain has a different task. As children enter puberty, those connections in most of the brain die off. They're pruned like the limbs of a tree in a process that neuroscientists think of as use it or lose it. So if you haven't learned how to balance on a skateboard or play the piano by the time you're a teenager, it's a lot harder to start when you're an adult. But if you've learned and practiced while you were young, it's fairly easy to pick it up again when you're older because those connections within the brain are still there. While most of a teenager's brain is pruning cells, the part in the very front, known as the prefrontal cortex, is doing the opposite. It's growing and building connections. This is the part of the brain that's responsible for planning and for understanding the consequences of behavior, which is why teenagers say things like this.
I dropped out of high school to skateboard.
It's fun. Driving fast is fun.
A lot of people don't know their limits, so then they just keep drinking and drinking and drinking.
It's a bit ironic that the part of the brain that, in essence, gives us good judgment isn't fully working during the years that we need it the most. I'm Dr. Cheryl Olson.
I think it is going really well because all my grades are being pushed higher than what they would have been in a normal school, and they have more time to give you like individual help if you need it.
The courses are good, yeah, and the facilities, like the science facility, they're good. Like you get stuff in the science, like a lot of the stuff that we use you can't even get in normal high schools, so it's like a bonus for us.
Still great, like I said the last time, and the course, it's struggling, but I'm getting better.
I was a lot more quieter when I first started. I didn't have no confidence because it's obviously new people, but now it's like I've got the confidence to go out and just do it, really. My grades have changed a lot.
Yeah, I wasn't interested in education at all when I was at school, but now I'm like ready to go to college, do you know?
I think I'm doing really well. I've progressed a lot since I started to up to now. My grades are better and I'm just generally just doing a lot better in my lessons.
My grades, they've definitely progressed. College has helped me a lot. If I didn't come here, I don't think I'd have got the grades in year 10 that I've got now.
Really?
Yeah. Most of my grades now, they're actually on target.
When I come to college, I started working a lot harder to like get my grades higher so I could get a decent job when I leave.
I was a little kid, really. I used to treat the teachers with no respect at all. I was naughty, used to mess about a lot. Now I'm much more grown up, get on with my work.
While I was at school, I didn't want to do none of the lessons. I just wanted to go into work in beauty therapy. I knew I wanted to do that, but I weren't interested in none of the lessons. And then, I don't know, I just came here and I've just focused on my lessons as well as my vocational lessons. So I've realised that I need my English and stuff like that for it.
I'm more happier here. I'm not going home like upset all the time. You know, because the school really hard. Because here it's less stressful and we can progress more.
It's like at my old school, I never wanted to go in my lessons. But at college, since I've come to college, I've like been in like all my lessons.
Yeah, I think that when I came, I used to like mess around, but now I'm more realised that it's nearly at the end of school now and I need to do it.
I want to go drama, but I also want to go astronomy as well. I just can't decide.
I'm still unsure on what I want to do, but I think it's to do with travel and tourism, what I want to be in that kind of sector of work.
Well, really, I want to be a fitness instructor, go to gym, give someone a training programme for a few weeks, see how they get on, and just make the progress from there.
I just like it, it's friendly and stuff like that, and yeah, I'll just be used to it once I'm older and I actually go on to the proper college. I'll just be used to being here, so instead of moving again.
Yeah, I wanted to work in hair, but now I've done beauty, I think I'll go for beauty because it's real fascinating and you get to do loads of different things, meet people, and there's loads of jobs for it.
Because then it gives me a better chance of getting good grades at college, because college push you a bit further than my old school did to get my grades higher.
We get support all the time for anything we need. We get to do work experience in June or July. We get to do 2 weeks of work experience, and I think it's got to be related to what you want to do. So that'll help us out a lot, so you can make up your mind then.
Yeah, I've always wanted to be in health and social care, but it's just made me realise what I really want to be in that department.
Because then if I can carry on with my sports work this year, and if it goes good, come back next year and carry on doing sports.
Well, my teacher likes the thing where we'd go on cruise liners because we get to go all over the world, but I'm thinking more sort of just staying in a salon because it's easier for me and I'd be able to stay in touch with my family and get good work going.
Meeting new people, I enjoyed that. I've gained loads of new friends. I had quite a few laughs as well with the teachers. They know how to have a joke with you. It's good, I like it. Glad I moved.
Yeah, I'll be going to university, hopefully. That is one of my goals and one of my aspirations. I want to go to university, I want to go to college, I want to get the best out of education.
I really believe that if you're motivated to do something that you're good at, you can do it.
Well, basically, I think I should stop being afraid of things.
I want to make people laugh.
I can start saying yes to things and see where they take me.
Okay, I know we're working on our anti-bullying scripts right now, but I want to talk to you guys about a way that we bully ourselves. The scripts that we write in our own heads is called self-talk. And self-talk can be either negative or positive. Let's make it positive.
Your brain is like a circuit switch. Once you believe you are something, you actually embody it. You embody that feeling. If you were, God forbid, in a coma, and you woke up and you didn't really have a memory, and you were told that you used to be a Navy SEAL, and they want you back now when you're healthy, do you think you'd act differently and hold yourself differently, conduct yourself different, and have a different self-concept of who you are than if you were told you were a piano instructor? Being successful in life is all about having the proper belief system in who you are. Truly believing that you are something unique, that you are something special in that field. If you truly believe inside of you that you are one of the best actors in the world, you will be entirely different than if you're like, I hope I'm good. Your expressions will be totally different, your tone of voice. You'll talk in a more convincing fashion. You'll use your natural voice instead of a scripted one. You'll be more emphatic. You'll be more real, more relatable. Our brain is like a circuit. And so if we introduce it with the proper wiring, you're going to go straight to your target. If you're unsure about who you are, then your dreams, your goals, they will never become a reality. Everyone has mental doubts in life, internal conflicts. Even the most successful people that you look up to. But they don't live there. It's how you handle those negative thoughts in that exact moment and overwhelm them with positive action. And that comes with this utmost confidence in yourself that you can handle the situation. Trust in yourself that you are better than the moment.
The greats
think differently. The greats see differently, right? The greats have a different worldview. The greats, they approach the game in a totally different way. So I need you to do me a huge favor. I need you to think about what you're thinking about when your effort is low. Because if you can get this, you can get any success you want in life. You can have anything you want in life if you can get this. The next time you give a low effort, right? You give it 70% or 50% or 30%. I want you to think about what you're thinking about when your effort is low. If your effort is low, you're probably not thinking about the opportunity, you're probably thinking about the obligation. And when you think about E.T., how you stay pumped up, E.T.'s how you stay on fire, E.T., how you always driven, even in the midst of trials and tribulations, even in the midst of your haters, when people try to break you and tear you down, E.T., how you stay strong. I keep thinking about the opportunity. Every single day, I'm thinking about the opportunity, and I'm not looking at this thing as an obligation. I'm not looking at this thing as something that I have to do, or that I'm forced to do, right? Something that somebody's making me do. Every time I wake up, I'm thinking, I'm alive, baby. This is the day. This is an opportunity. If you want what you've never had before, if you want to do what you've never done before, if you want to be what you've never been before, change your mentality. And I want you to see that effort goes up when you look at it as, I got an opportunity of a lifetime. But you should be excited about the fact that you have an opportunity.